After years of being friends, our neighbors suddenly started avoiding us. Then one morning, every house on the block had a flyer on the porch. "Would you let them near your kids?" It was a photo of my husband, edited. Smiling. In front of a crime scene from another state. When I called her, she said, "I warned you not to get too comfortable. This neighborhood remembers." What she didn't know was that the real criminal was her own brother, and I had the proof. We moved to Arbor Hill 6 years ago. It's one of those neighborhoods where people remember birthdays, mow in diagonal patterns, and hang flags for every holiday. It's just outside Raleigh, North Carolina, small, quiet, almost too polite. Our house sat 2 doors down from a retired schoolteacher named Denise. She was sharp, sarcastic, and lived alone. She brought us banana bread the day after we moved in and told us she had lived there since the 80s. "Long enough to know when someone doesn't belong," she said, half joking. Back then, we saw her like family. My husband Mike would help with her gutters or fix her fence when it sagged. She'd watch our dog when we traveled. She once told me, "You two are the kind of people who make neighborhoods worth living in." I believed her. Everything changed last year. First, it was just the distance. She stopped waving. Wouldn't return our hellos. Once I waved from the driveway and she turned her back before my hand even dropped. No more banana bread. No more fence chats. Not even eye contact. We thought maybe we said something wrong or forgot a birthday. I left her a card, nothing too much, just thinking of you. Hope all is well. No response. Then one Friday morning, I went outside for the paper and saw a flyer on our porch. It was thick, glossy paper, too much effort for a prank. It said, "Would you let them near your kids?" Big, bold, black font. Below it was a photo of my husband, Mike, smiling. And behind him, police tape. A crime scene. He looked wrong. His smile looked eerie. His eyes too wide. It was edited, but not in an obvious way. If you didn't know him, it could pass. If you wanted to believe it, it would be easy. I was frozen. Then I saw our neighbors' porches. Every single one had the same flyer. I felt like someone had dumped ice water down my back. I ran back inside. Mike had just gotten up, half asleep. I shoved the flyer in his hands. He stared at it and went pale. "They think I did something," he whispered. I called Denise. She picked up after one ring. "You've made your bed," she said. "I warned you not to get too comfortable. This neighborhood remembers." Click. That sentence didn't make sense. This neighborhood remembers. We were new. Mike had never lived in North Carolina before. But I had a sinking feeling in my gut. I knew what she meant. There was only one thing in his past that someone could twist like this. Back in Nebraska, 12 years ago, Mike was photographed at a gas station just minutes before a shooting. A gang hit. Wrong place, wrong time. He had a Gatorade in his hand. The police cruisers pulled in behind him as he walked out. A local paper ran the story. His photo was in the background. Some internet gossip spun it, said he looked too calm. Conspiracy theories. It got shared around a bit. Nothing came of it. The guy who did the shooting was caught 2 days later. Mike was never a suspect. Never even brought in. But that photo stuck around. And Denise had found it. She wasn't just distancing herself. She was targeting us. She'd made us look like monsters. But she didn't know I kept receipts. I had the police report. The time-stamped footage. Witness statements. The guy who was arrested had a record a mile long. Mike was cleared immediately. But there was more. Because back when Denise still trusted me, back when she still called us family, she told me something I never forgot. She was drunk off boxed wine. We were sitting on her porch, about 3 years ago. Started talking about her brother. "He messed up bad once," she said. "Some girl died. Drugs? I told him, you need to get help. He never did. She told me he did time in Ohio. Wouldn't say what for. So I looked him up. Her brother's name was Alan. Alan Hargrave. Born in 1974. Lived in Cincinnati until 2010. I found it. 2003, State of Ohio v. Alan Hargrave. Charged with involuntary manslaughter. Pleaded down from second-degree murder. The victim was 22-year-old Brittany Keller. Overdose. Her fingerprints on his bed frame. His fingerprints on the heroin bags. He got 7 years. Released in 2010. Records sealed in 2012. But not before I pulled them. I paid for certified copies. They're not easy to find, but they exist. Denise had been sitting on a landmine for decades. And now she was pretending my husband was dangerous? She thought I wouldn't push back. She was wrong. I wasn't just going to clear my husband's name. I was going to destroy hers. I didn't go to the police right away. I wanted to. God, I wanted to march into the sheriff's office and drop everything on their desk, the flyers, the old court records, the photo edits. But Denise was smart. She hadn't signed the flyers. There was no proof she made them. And if I went public without something solid, I knew what would happen. She'd spin it. Say she was just looking out for the children. That it was public information. That she had concerns. Small towns eat that up. People trust the quiet ones. The ones who've lived there longest. So I made a plan. I started talking to neighbors. Slowly. Casually. I'd ask how their kids were, compliment their lawn. Then I'd bring up the flyer. Pretend I was confused. Some were polite. Some shrugged it off. But a few had that look in their eyes, the same one you see in people when they're scared of something they don't understand. One woman, her name was Rachel, leaned in and whispered, "Denise said your husband was arrested once. That he ran from the police." I smiled, shook my head, and said, "That's not true. Would you want to see the actual police report?" She looked caught off guard. But she nodded. That's how it started. I printed 10 copies of the report, the timestamped photos, even a letter from the Nebraska Police Department confirming Mike had never been charged. I didn't say anything about Denise's brother yet. Not yet. First, I needed people to start doubting her. I invited 3 neighbors over for coffee one morning, Rachel, the couple across the street, and a guy who lived at the end of the block. We'd never had them over before. I served pastries, kept it light. Let them talk. Then I laid it all out on the table. I know what Denise said. I told them. But here's what really happened. I handed them the paperwork. They read it. Quietly. The air got still. The husband, Tim, asked, "Why would she lie?" I looked him in the eye and said, "Because she's hiding something worse." Then I showed them the records about Alan. I watched their faces change. I didn't have to say much. I just said, "She said she cared about kids. That my husband was dangerous. But her brother killed a 22-year-old girl. His fingerprints were on the drugs." Rachel covered her mouth. That was when I knew the tide was turning. But Denise noticed, too. 2 days later, I found something new in our mailbox. A dead rat. Wrapped in newspaper. No note. I called the police this time. Filed a report. They didn't take it seriously, just said to keep an eye out. But Denise had escalated. Which meant I had to do the same. I didn't want to just clear our name anymore. I wanted everyone to know what kind of person Denise really was. So I made my own flyers. Not flashy. Just the facts. Who is Alan Hargrave? Underneath. Convicted of involuntary manslaughter. 2003. Victim, 22-year-old Brittany Keller. 7 years in prison. Then a photo of the court records, and a link to a public document archive I paid to host. At the bottom. Would you let her near your kids? I dropped one on every doorstep in the neighborhood. Even hers. And then I waited. It didn't take long for the storm to hit. By the end of the week I saw it. People stopped waving at Denise. The woman who once called herself the neighborhood aunt now had blinds drawn at all hours. No flag up for Memorial Day. No porch light. No garden clippers in her hand. Just silence. But silence wasn't surrender. 3 days later, I got a letter. No stamp. Just folded in half and taped to our front door. Keep digging and you'll end up where Brittany did. A friend. My chest went tight. I read it 3 times. The threat was clear, but the part that stuck out was the name. Brittany. Only a few people in this neighborhood had seen the flyer with her name. That meant one of them had told Denise. Or someone else was involved. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in the house sounded louder. Mike kept checking the locks. Our dog barked at nothing. I started thinking maybe this was bigger than Denise. Maybe her brother never really left town. Maybe he was here. So I started digging again. Alan Hargrave's parole record showed a Raleigh address from 2011. Then it went cold. I called the halfway house listed. It had shut down years ago. I called the clerk's office in Ohio. They wouldn't release anything beyond what I had. I needed more. Then something strange happened. A man came by during the afternoon. Middle-aged. Cargo pants, tan polo. Said he was with Community Wellness. Had a clipboard and everything. "I'm checking in on families with new children," he said. I looked at him sideways. "We don't have kids." I told him. He hesitated. Must have been a data error. Have a good day. He left fast. I ran out after him, but he was already pulling away in a rusted-out sedan. No plates. I called the police again. Told them everything. The threat, the letter, the man. They took another report but didn't promise anything. That night, I called Rachel. I think Alan is here, I told her. She didn't sound shocked. I heard someone say they saw a man coming out of Denise's garage last week, she said. Tall, scruffy beard. Didn't look like anyone from around here. I felt sick. Denise had told me once that Alan wasn't right in the head anymore. That he didn't like being looked at. That's why he kept moving around. I realized what was happening. Alan was hiding at Denise's house. I remembered her words on the phone that day. This neighborhood remembers. She didn't mean the gas station. She meant Brittany. She thought someone might remember her brother, and she was trying to get ahead of it by smearing Mike. She was trying to rewrite history. That night, I parked down the street in the dark with my phone camera ready. At 11:27 p.m., I saw him. A man came out of her side garage door with a duffel bag, looked both ways, and walked around to the back. He matched the parole photo. Same nose. Same eyes. It was Alan. I had him on video. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew this wasn't over. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the video over and over, Alan's face, the way he looked around like a cornered animal. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Rage. Pure, bone-deep rage. They tried to destroy us. Me and Mike. Our home, our names, our safety. For what? To protect a man who left a dead girl in his bed and walked free because of a plea deal? I didn't want just rumors anymore. I wanted witnesses. So I called someone who owed me a favor, Derek, an old coworker of mine from when we lived in Georgia. He was in private security now. Not quite a PI, but close. I told him everything, sent the video, and asked one question. Can you get me proof that Alan is staying there? He showed up 3 days later. No announcement, no warning. He drove a truck disguised like pest control, parked down the street, and waited. What he got was gold. Alan came out again around midnight, this time dragging a trash bag down the side of the house. He dumped it in a bin behind the neighbor's garage. Derek pulled the footage from a hidden cam he'd placed the night before. Then he did me one better. He went through Denise's trash. And he found a bottle of prescription meds, hydrocodone, with Alan Hargrave's name on it. Filled 3 weeks earlier. Picked up less than 10 miles away. It was all I needed. I took the video, the bottle, and the flyers to a local reporter. Not a big city paper, too slow. I went to a small, independent local blog that covered crime and corruption in small towns. The woman who ran it, Carla, had a fire in her belly. She listened. She fact-checked. She asked for permission to go public. I gave her everything. The story broke on a Wednesday. Headline: Convicted killer hiding in plain sight, while family smears innocent neighbor. The article laid it all out. Mike's real history. The crime Alan committed. The flyers. The threats. The video footage. The pill bottle. Even a copy of the letter Denise left us. By Thursday morning, Denise's porch was covered in camera crews. And by noon, the police were at her door. They arrested Alan in her basement. He had a cot, canned food, and a loaded revolver. When they asked why he was hiding, he said, "The past don't go away. I was just waiting for the next one." Denise was taken in for obstruction and harboring a fugitive. She'd been filling his prescriptions under her own insurance. Had lied to authorities. She cried on camera, said she didn't want to lose him again. No one bought it. But here's the part that still eats at me. After it all came out, a few neighbors apologized. Some brought over casseroles. Rachel cried on my porch and said, "I didn't know what to believe." But most? They just stopped talking. We were cleared, yes. Our names clean again. Mike even got an apology from the sheriff. But the damage was done. People still looked twice when we walked the dog. Still kept their distance. One woman crossed the street when Mike went out to grab the mail. We were right. We won. But we didn't win. Because even when you clear your name, suspicion sticks. It lingers in the corners. It follows you home. We're moving this summer. Not out of fear. Just done. Denise will be in court for months. Alan's going back to prison. Maybe for good this time. And me? I've learned that revenge can bring justice, but it won't bring peace. Still, I don't regret it. She tried to burn down my life. So I buried her lies in public records, where they'll live forever.